start in Westminster Abbey, and today we're gonna be studying Psalm 67, but after we hear a setting of Psalm 67, and if all of you have the words, have it in front of you, because it is a little hard to understand.
I have the
But
text.
then Ben Shafran is gonna share his Psalm 19, which we goofed yesterday and missed that. So we're going to have Ben share his Psalm 19, and then we're going to get to the study of Psalm 67. But as I said yesterday, Psalm 67 has many settings, and this is a very famous church setting for Psalm 67.
All right, so I'm going to share this. I have put the text. It's the text from the Book of Common Prayer, the Anglican Psalter. Here we go. Okay, with the Anglican Chatima there.
Okay. All right, so let's now turn to Ben and his offering for Psalm 19.
Okay, just one
And
second.
apologies, Ben, that we goofed yesterday. We're looking forward to hearing your.
Apology needed. Good morning.
Good morning,
All right,
Ben.
so here we are, Ben Shafran's two offerings based on Psalm 19. It's all yours.
I can't see it on the screen.
Can you see it now? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Before I start reading, I just want to say that thematically, both of these have nothing to do with the psalm itself, and yet both were inspired by the psalm.
Uh-huh. Wonderful.
They're at opposite ends of the emotional spectrum.
Okay, so read it first and then tell us about that. I'm eager to hear.
Memories. Come, show yourselves. Don't hide. Don't be shy. After all, we are one, you and I. Where have you gone all these years? Where did you rest? Why didn't you say hello or call home for a chat? Your presence is needed now, before it's too late. Come, please come, before we both expire. Come, show yourselves. Tell me a story. Lull me to sleep. Remind me of feelings long dormant, deliberately buried, foreclosing the absence of rejected beauty from aching so deeply.
Read the second one before you speak.
Okay. Spring. Sprung like a released coil of steel, spring is suddenly here. Sub-freezing at dawn, mid-70s in the afternoon, red-headed finches appearing at bird feeders, robins striding the lawns, and daylilies breaking loam, all messengers of mirth and warmth to come. The blue of the sky turns milky with haze, the winds strengthen pace, and yet are welcome as harbingers of brighter days. Houses empty, streets hum, and hearts
Oh,
are filled with sheer delight and cheer.
beautiful, Ben. So
Thank
I'm so intrigued for you to amplify what you said to begin with. Tell us about being inspired and what you were doing here.
Well, the kernel of the first one, of Memories, came to me a year ago, last summer,
Huh.
when I was isolating alone, undergoing chemotherapy
Uh-huh.
and doing it all alone, and really felt like it's the end of the world. But I couldn't put it together. I couldn't do anything with that idea. And then when we read the Psalm, and I saw the psalmist using a literary device of giving embodiment to abstract ideas.
Yes.
They have been telling stories, nights expressing opinions.
Yep.
It gave me the device what to do with
Uh-huh.
memories.
Uh-huh.
So
Beautiful.
situation.
So the second one, so tell us about both and kind of the contrast of
And the
them.
second one was simply came out of the exuberance of the psalm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
In the original Hebrew, it's one of the most beautifully poetic thing I've ever read. And the exuberance is just all
Yep.
there. And
Yeah,
that's
beautiful. I love what you did here. And I love, and again, this is a great example. The Psalm can inspire literally, so to speak. What I say to everybody when you don't know what to do is to go through a word for word so that you figure out how to make it meaningful. And it could also be what we call a gezerah shava, something inspires something. It's not necessarily a direct or literal connection. But even just providing you with that link, I find that also in the Psalm very, very powerful, the concreteness to say not just that God's glory is everywhere, but to say the skies, the Hashemayim Mesaprim, they're speaking to us. Can we hear what they're saying? I love it. So thank you, Ben. And I love having both of them, and there's quite a deep expression. And how is your health, Ben?
I'm good. I'm in total remission. Thank you.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Wonderful to hear that. And spring has a whole new feeling to that, right?
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to turn to Psalm 67. And the reason we're doing 67, as I mentioned yesterday, is that 67 is considered very closely associated with the Omer period. And some people recite it every day during the Omer. Some people do have a tradition with it, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, first of all, the question is, why is it associated with the Omer? I honestly don't know who started this tradition, and I didn't have time last night because of all that was happening. I was going to do a little research, and I know somebody's going to ask me, when did this start? Who started it? I have no idea. It's something that I've always known about, but I don't actually know where in Jewish tradition this comes from. And Rabbi Moskowitz probably knows. I don't know. So it's one of those things that in thinking about teaching this today, I knew somebody's going to ask me, where does it come from? I don't know. I'll try and figure out. Maybe others will be more successful than me, but I'm sharing with you a very beautiful tradition of the Omer period. And that is this Psalm. And as I said, some people say it every day. But why did, I don't know, was anybody able to discover why this is associated with the
Oh,
Omer?
Rabbi, I'm online and I found.
Oh, don't tell. Yeah, Dr. Google did it, right? Okay, so if you look, ignore the first verse.
Right.
Okay, and now count the words of the Psalm, starting in verse 2, because the first verse, remember, there's an issue with superscriptions. Some people consider them part of the Psalm. Some people don't consider them part of the Psalm. If you count the Hebrew words one by one from Psalm 2 to the end, so from Pasuk Bet, from the second verse to the final verse, which is how many verses? There are 8 verses. So everybody, can you count the Hebrew words if you can figure out what
They're 49.
49.
There are 49 words from the body of the Psalm. And again, this is the tradition is choosing, as we've discussed a gazillion times, not to consider the superscription as part of it, because you can't get to 49 with that. So the tradition sees that there are 49 words in the Hebrew. The English is more complicated. As we've talked about, English doesn't translate word for word. And the tradition is that each word is associated in some way with the corresponding day of the Omer. So some people have the tradition of taking the word of the day. So in other words, Elohim for day 1, which is the second day of Pesach, Yechanenu day 2, etc., 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 and studying something or preparing a meditation. I mean, it's become very popular in Jewish meditation circles for each day of the Omer to take that word that's corresponding and study or meditate the meaning of that word for that day. So what would that mean? So today, for instance, last night we counted the 24th day of the Omer. So with that example, what is the word of Psalm 67 for day 24? I have the wrong glass. Oh yeah, no, I have the right glasses. Do we have any counters?
I think it's the word tishpot.
Ken, exactly correct. Tishbot. So today is the word tishbot, which is rule, or here it has judge. Remember, shin, pei, tet. Shofet is a judge, beit mishpatim, court. So this word judge, I thought, so how amazing on the day that we count 24, when the verdict came back, guilty, guilty, guilty for Chauvin, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the word for the Omer this year is tishbot. I think that's so beautiful in its own. So a word for the day of the Omer. You know, does everybody follow that? It's important. Does anybody not understand what I've said? I want to make sure. Harold, can we see if there are any hands up or anybody?
Okay, hold on.
I just want to make sure this is super clear because it's pretty special.
Peter Klein is raising his hand.
Okay,
I
Peter?
bet he understands, but go ahead,
Okay.
Peter.
It's not that I don't understand,
Okay.
but you were asking why this particular one should be associated with counting the Omer. And I was wondering, looking at verse 7, earth has given forth her bounty.
Yes,
By counting the Omer, we come up to the harvest,
yes.
first of the harvests.
That is definitely discussed as well, although the whole thing with 49 is the big focus.
Sure,
So it
but
is correct. Yes, absolutely.
we're agrarian.
There's
So
harvest,
there you go.
absolutely. It's gamza v'gamza, absolutely. But I just think it's pretty special. I was very moved in looking at day 24. The word for the day of the Omer is tishbot. What are those little black boxes?
Oh, sorry, when I try to look at chat.
Oh, okay.
and,
Whatever,
participate.
it doesn't matter. Okay. So so this is a pretty special, so again, so people recite this psalm every day. I don't, that's not my tradition, but some Jews do it. And some Jews do it and then study each, or will offer teachings each day, taking the theme of the word of that day as a way of. Now, the other thing is to look at the physical structure of the psalm. I'm going to read through it pretty quickly because we're just doing this for this day, and there's a lot about Psalm 67. This is a very rich, and you can explore it, and there's a lot of musical settings. Ira posted Charles Ives, who is maybe the original or one of the earliest composers of modern music. I think he lived in Hartford, Connecticut, and was, like an insurance salesman. He wrote a setting for this when he was 19 or 20 years old that that Ira posted. That's beautiful. There are a lot of Christian settings for this. It's a psalm of blessing. You can see why this is, and let's just read through it. Yael, would you just read the Hebrew through once, and just so folks listen to it, and then somebody read the English through once, and then we'll talk about it.
Sure. Harold, can you scroll up so I can see? למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר. אלוהים יחננו ויברכנו, יאר פניו איתנו סלע. לדעת בארץ דרכך, בכל גויים ישועתך. יודוך עמים, אלוהים יודוך עמים כולם. ישמחו וירננו לאומים, כי תשפוט עמים מישר, ולאומים בארץ תנחם סלע. יודוך עמים אלוהים, יודוך עמים כולם. ארץ נתנה יבולה, יברכנו אלוהים אלוהינו, יברכנו אלוהים ויראו אותו כל אפסי ארץ.
Beautiful, thank you. And somebody to read the English?
Waiting for hand. Hold on. Aura, or Ezrahi.
For the conductor with string music, a psalm song. May God show grace to us and bless us. May the Holy One shine the divine countenance among us. Selah. To discern your direction on the earth, your deliverance among all peoples. Let the peoples praise you, God. Let the peoples praise you, all of them. Let the nations rejoice and sing, for you will judge the peoples justly. And as for the nations on earth, may you lead them, Selah. Let the peoples praise you, God. Let the peoples praise you, all of them. Earth has given forth her bounty. May God, our God, bless us. May God bless us, and may the ends of the earth fear the eternal forever.
Beautiful. So first of all, notice, and I like, these are the Levi, I really like some of the ways he brings out things that are deep in the Hebrew in his formatting. So first of all, you notice the italicized verses 4 and 6. Do you notice that those are exactly the same words? In the Hebrew, it's obvious, obviously, but he makes sure you see it in the italics so you don't miss that. Many think that this was kind of a, you know, let's say in a modern sense, a cantor choral setting, maybe, or a solo choral setting, and maybe, and a lot of the different settings that you'll hear play with those two, the repetitions as some kind of like a choral repetition or something like that. We don't obviously know exactly, but looking at the themes, you'll notice, wow, that verse 2 sounds a lot like something else we know very well, right? It sounds a lot like the priestly blessing. And this psalm is talked a lot as reflecting the priestly blessing. May the Holy One show Yechanenu, show us loving kindness. Chen is another word for loving kindness, or they translate this as grace, and bless us. Ya'er panav, the same language, enlighten the face. May the Holy One's face shine on us. Selah, we're not going da'at be'eretz, to help us see in your way in the earth. B'chol goyim yeshuatecha, again the word Yeshua, redemption or deliverance or salvation. Again, for Christians, that word always is associated with Jesus, not so for Jewish reading, but it makes the psalm very meaningful for Christians. Let the peoples praise you. Let all the peoples praise you, all of them. Yismechu, oh, there's so much joy here. Joy, and here we have a different word for peoples. In verse 2, we have goyim. Here we have umim, another word for peoples. And here's our verse for today. Ki tishpot, because or for you will judge amim justly. You will judge the people justly. That's why this is so moving to me, that this is the word for the 24th day of the Omer, which is the day of this verdict. V'lumim, as for the all the peoples of the earth, you will lead them. And then again, the repetition. And then verse 7, earth. Now it goes from being about people and justice and knowing the ways of justice and loving kindness. The earth itself will bring forth its, as he says, bounty. May God bless. Look at the words, the number of times that the word for blessing is used in the psalm. It's repeated. May God, our God, bless us. May God bless us. And may the ends of the earth, and here's the word that could be awe, not only fear, but may the whole ends of the earth feel awe for the eternal forever. And now, Harold, would you show the Mitchell? Do you have the Mitchell accessible?
I do.
Let's just see quickly how Mitchell looks at this psalm, and then we're gonna, this is fun, isn't this? This is like a Zoom version of this. Zoom version, I didn't realize that.
And
Okay,
there were some people who said that they did not quite understand the 49 words and the 20th
Oh,
word.
okay, so I'll go back to that. Okay,
So let me make this a little bigger.
okay. So the Omer period are the 49 days we count from Passover to Shavuot, starting on the second day of Passover. If you're a rabbinic Jew, that's a whole other big argument about when you start counting the Omer. The Omer is the gathering of the barley, but it's the 49 days between Passover and Shavuot, the holiday that we celebrate the giving of the Torah and Mount Sinai, and also the agricultural holiday. For secular Israelis, Shavuot is exclusively about the harvest and the springtime and the bounty of bringing in. And for American Jews, it's more focused on both of those veins exist within the holiday itself, the celebration of harvest and the celebration of the giving of Torah. So these 49 days we count, and if you've come to services on Friday nights, you hear after the Aleinu, we count. So we count which day it is, day 1, day 2, day 3, up to 49, and then Shavuot. So that's why this psalm with those 49 words corresponds to the 49 days, and each word has some meaning for that particular day. Okay, if you please ask if there are more questions, but let's look at Mitchell now for Psalm
Okay, Mitchell.
67. Mitchell, if you have the Mitchell, or we'll look at it because I want you to see what Mitchell did with 67. And you, okay? Can we have somebody read this one? It's again, it's fairly short, but can somebody
Okay,
read that?
Sarah Sloan,
Okay.
click on the buzzer.
Bless us, Lord, with your peace. Make your light shine within us, so that your presence may be known and your love appear to all people. Let all earth's nation honor you, and all people shout out your praise. Christian, Muslim, and Jew, idol worshiper, agnostic, Buddhist, theist, scientist, brown-skinned, yellow, and white. Let wisdom speak in their hearts and justice light up their eyes. Let all of them feel your presence and sing out in the fullness of joy.
Yeah.
So you can see Mitchell takes the references to all the people and makes it, concretizes it by actually naming different kinds of people. And it really becomes a celebration of a multi-ethnic, multiracial, broad ranging of human beings. And it's not a very specifically Jewish psalm at all. And you see what Mitchell does with this. So Harold, let's play the menorah. There's one other very important thing about this psalm, which is this: if you have the Hebrew in front of you in particular, the number of words in each line are considered very significant. And we're going to show you, this was the best I could find that really demonstrates it in quite a concrete way. So get ready for looking at a psalm that we've never done before.
Someone actually said in chat, "Is this the Menorah Psalm?" So we have.
Oh, wow.
We have a.
Okay. This is also known as the Menorah Psalm.
למנצח בנגינות מזמור שיר, אלוהים יחוננו ויברכנו, יאר פניו איתנו סלע לדעת, בארץ דרכך בכל גויים, ישועתך יודוך, נמים אלוהים, יודוך, נמים כולם, ישמחו וירננו, לאומים, כי תשפוט נביאים מישור, ולאומים בארץ תנחם סלע יודוך, נמים אלוהים, יודוך, נמים כולם, ארץ נתנה יבולה, יברכנו אלוהים אלוהינו, יברכנו אלוהים, ויראו אותו כל אפסי הארץ.
Should I keep it up, Rabbi?
Oh, yes, keep it on, though. I think they'll do the outline, right? I'm not-
Okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on. Let's see if they'll, so they, yeah. And then they'll show you, hold on, so keep it to the end. I think they'll show you the outline of the Hebrew. Nope, but, okay. So if you look at the, so the words on the top are the superscription words, the Lamanatseach. Those are the words on the top to be kind of the flames of each of the candles. And of course, this is a menorah, as the menorah would have been with 7 branches. Thank you. Couldn't think of the word. And so this is known as the menorah. One of the references to Psalm 67 is the menorah. I thought this would do the outline, but if we look back at the Hebrew, you could see the number of words in each line of the Hebrew. I thought they did that. I guess I was.
I think they do. Hold on. Let me go just a little further.
Because it just shows you the.
No, just shows you.
Just the English. Yeah. All right. Let me look at the Hebrew. So the English, the number of words are, again, we're going to skip the verse. They have the different numbers of each word, which if you outlined it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the rhythm of so the longer ones, the longest one is right there in the middle. And if you write out the numbers for each, you can see the rhythm of the sentences, which a lot of people talk about. So if you looked up if you even looked up in Wikipedia, Psalm 67, I'm just going to hold, I printed this out. Let me see if you could see even the graphic. I probably should
just share that.
Okay, the graphic in the Wikipedia for Psalm 67 is this menorah, what you see up here, because of the lines fit the number, the lines of each one. Yeah, in the Wikipedia up there, I think.
Nope, hold on. I'll get it. Keep talking.
Okay. Keep talking. So let me just stop there and see about questions. It's a very beautiful psalm, and there are a lot of gorgeous musical settings because it expresses this. There it is. So you see, so this is a shviti. So a shviti, which you see the bottom word down there, is in the medieval and maybe earlier period, they were kind of prayer mandalas where you would study it. It would become a meditation feature. And this particular shviti is very common. The one that is in this menorah structure is Psalm 67. And you'll see this in all different kinds of Jewish texts. It is the psalm, and it's structured exactly as that video just showed. Okay, let me stop there for some questions or comments or responses to the psalm. What do you think? How do you react?
Sherry.
Yes, you actually get 2 for the price of 1. I actually, perhaps because of Ben talking about the beauty of Psalm 19, in the Hebrew, Amim and Elohim are repeated so often. It's so mesmerizing and beautiful. And I did have a question about Elohim, why it's plural, but perhaps it's just because it's so beautiful.
The real answer is nobody really knows, and that's a very deep question. It gets discussed a lot in all biblical literature. That maybe Elohim is plural because the original pagan gods were plural and the Israelites were adopting that language. Or maybe it means the many faces of God. Nobody really knows, but Elohim is used a lot throughout the Bible. And for those who study critical scientific analysis of the Bible in the 1800s, they originally advocated, these were German Protestant thinkers, that there's the Elohim author and there's the Yud-He-Vav-He author. That's no longer considered contemporary in the study of the Bible. but that became a very big focus. What did the Elohim author say, and how was it different than the Yud-He Vav-He author? But they called that Yud-He Vav-He author the Jehovah author. But anyway, we don't really know, but those are the two big theories. One is that it was adopting pagan language from the time of the ancient Near East, and it was talking about plural gods, but adapting it to the Jewish concept, because the verbs that are used with Elohim are not plural.
Right.
So it's in a plural form, but with a singular grammatical blah blah. And the other is that it means many faces of God. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but who knows?
And the second question is the use of a 7-pronged menorah versus 9. Can you talk about that? Why are there different ones? How are they used different? What's the different significance?
Well, the 7 menorah was the traditional one in the temple. But why the 9? That's a great question. I've just blanked out on that.
Hanukkah.
Yeah, but why wouldn't Hanukkah be the same number? My mind just went blank. This is something I should know.
8 days plus
8
plus
days.
it's 8 days.
I know,
plus-
but it's 8 days because there were 8 candles that had to get lit, right?
Right, plus the shamash.
Okay, I'm stumped, Simon. Good question. Excellent question. I know this somewhere in my brain, and it's not, that file is not accessible right now. So,
I thought it was because the oil lasted 8 days.
I know, but
You'll
why,
make it- you'll
we
make-
only would have needed it to last 8 days because there would have been eight vials we needed.
Oh, right. 8 days. Huh.
So we'll wait with bated breath for the
Wait
answer.
with bated breath. That file has gone missing. I'm sure nobody else knows what that feels like, but
Well, while we're searching, Lori Spear.
unfortunately, my brain doesn't work like Google, that goes into the things you don't even know is there. So hold on. I'll get it for you, Simon. I'll get it. I wrote it down.
Thank you.
Lori Spear.
Okay, so I'm gonna,
Unless, of course, that file went into delete, then I'm in trouble. Go ahead, Lori.
so I'm gonna take my question, and somebody else had a related question. Why we count, and also what is the significance of the number 33 that we have a holiday on the 33rd day?
Excellent questions. The why we count is because the Bible tells us that it's 49 days after Passover that the holiday of Shavuot takes place. It doesn't give us the date for Shavuot. It only tells us how long after Passover Shavuot happens. The complicating factor about this, which is of course not what you want to hear about, is that it doesn't exactly tell us when to start counting. So there's a big debate in Jewish history. It says kind of the day after tomorrow or the day after you're supposed to start counting. Rabbinic Jews interpreted that as the second day of Passover, but non-rabbinic Jews way back when interpreted that as the day after that. So there are two different holidays historically, and it's been a huge debate. Those Jews don't much exist anymore, but in the Talmud, there's a huge debate about this issue. But for we who are considered descendants of rabbinic Jews, we start counting the day after the first day of Passover, not the day after that. And so that 49 days later is Shavuot. So we're supposed to count in order to know when Shavuot happens.
And I think Linda Solomon answered the question. That
What's
in
that?
the temple, they lit every light every night, every day. So it wasn't that they were lighting one at a time, but they had to refill all 7 of them for the 8 days until they could purify new oil. So it wasn't one at a time, it was lighting all of them at once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but were there 7 candles or 8 candles?
But it doesn't matter because they were lighting they always lit all of them.
Well, it matters to me whether there are 7
There
or
were
8.
7 candles.
Usually there were 7.
There
Okay,
were 7 oil pots.
Yeah.
Okay?
right.
And every day, Shmuley had to put a little bit of oil in each of the 7 so that they could keep them alight. Okay.
I see what you're
So
saying.
that's one thing. So they were all lit all the time. The 8 is because it took 8 days to get. They only had one vial. It would take 8 days
okay.
to get a new vial. Amazon was not delivering to Jerusalem.
No, there was no Amazon Prime. There was no Amazon Prime for delivery. Very interesting.
Thank you, Linda.
Before you go on, what is the significance of 33?
So the 33, which is Lag BaOmer, which is the Hebrew letters Lamed, which stands for 30, and Gimel, which is 33 days of Omer. The tradition is there was a terrible plague which killed 24,000 of Rabbi Akiva's students. They were all of the great students of that generation, and they were all killed with the exception of a couple, and one or two, and the plague stopped on the 33rd day of the Omer. And so it became, the 33 days of the Omer are somewhat of a mourning period because of that plague. Can you imagine thinking about a plague now? I feel like last year I gave a whole drash about this. I feel very differently about the plague of the Omer living through our contemporary plague and understanding why the day that the plague ended would be a day of celebration. So the 33rd day is the day of celebration. And you know, if you're in Israel, there are bonfires and hikes in the woods, and youth groups do a lot of outdoorsy Lag BaOmer hikes and things like that. So we don't, at CBSE, for instance, we don't do weddings during the Omer because of the tradition of being a mourning period, but we do weddings if we're asked from Lag BaOmer to the end of the Omer period. Okay, how do you know when a plague ends? I just see that Jack asked, people stop dying in that time.
All right, so when you can get a haircut on Lag BaOmer, we all know what it's like to sit inside and not get a haircut during a plague, right?
Or have your, yep, exactly. There, things that were only metaphors or felt like they were just historical, you know,
Or
curiosities.
Jean Dresser has been had her hand
Okay,
up.
yes, okay.
What I'm fascinated with Psalm 67 is that it's so open to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
And that the God that's envisioned is a God of all people, and it's universal justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wanting to know is, this is the first time it seems to me that really focused on that the whole, you know, encompassed that. But the other part is that it's so many symbols for us as Jewish people. And I find that really, I'm just making, I don't know, did rabbis talk about that in the sense that they made that universal, you know, it's fascinating.
Yes, the rabbis would understand this traditionally as meaning the peoples of the earth will one day acknowledge, you know, the oneness of God, not necessarily by conversion. Jews never believed in mass conversion, but that would live, if a non-Jew lives according to the laws of the Noahite covenant, they are as just and as righteous as Jews who live by the covenant of Abraham. So it just means that everybody would be living by their covenants with God.
Right.
And that would recognize that. But you can see also why a Christian reading of this is very much about Jesus's salvation, because of that word salvation.
But I'm just saying that for an ancient people.
Yes.
It's
absolutely.
amazingly universal and benign. Just amazing. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think it is. And you can see why it's a beloved psalm by so many. And honestly, now that you know about this psalm, if you ever go to a Christian, I've heard this psalm many times in churches. It's a beautiful, beautiful psalm. And you can see it in the reflection of the priestly blessing is so beautiful that you could feel it in there. Okay, more people I know have comments to make.
Jack Neiman. Jack, you're muted, Jack. You're still muted, Jack. Jack, we can't hear you.
All right. No, I'm just to tag on what Noreen was saying. So that line, the peoples will praise you, O God. All peoples will praise you. But then the next line, may the earth yield its produce. May God, our God, not your God, but, you know, so it's a distinction. May our God bless us. You know, why the distinction?
There is no sense in the ancient world that, I mean, our liberal pluralism is a very modern thing. Ancient peoples believed that their gods were the powerful gods. Ancient Israelites were no different. Than the hope was that other peoples would come to recognize that our God was the powerful one. There was no concept that of the kind of the pluralism and liberal, The best you could do in the ancient world, and honestly, we're not doing so well in our world, right? Let's be honest, we're not doing so well. The best you could do is believing that people were allowed to coexist with different beliefs, but not that in the ancient world, people would say somebody else's beliefs were as legitimate as yours. But there's no question in this psalm, for the author of this psalm, our God is the.
But at the same time, people believe their God is, is the true.
But the author to this psalm didn't believe that those people were legitimate in that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It doesn't mean we can't read it differently. I'm just saying we have to be careful not to, put kind of a liberal pluralistic view on the author, which does not diminish the power it has for us or the way you want to read it.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Randy Sarkoff.
Harold, I just sent you a text, an email with a picture, if you could put that on the screen. What I wanted to bring up here was, as part of all the things CBST does, getting ready for the high holidays, Rabbi Rapport did a Make Your Home a Sanctuary. And one of her suggestions was a Shaviti. And Mickey and I had printed them. And one still hangs over our TV set where we watch all the services. And this is it.
There it is.
And to this day, it is still there. And it does make it more of a sanctuary than just my living room watching you guys sing Friday night services and various services.
Look at it. There it is. How beautiful is that?
It all comes together. This whole 14 months of CBST has made everything more meaningful. And I just wanted to say thank you.
You're very welcome. That's beautiful.
It is.
Thank you.
And I have a special relationship with Mickey, and no one else can send me emails that I need to put up during class. I feel like the master of two
Let's be
servants
careful
here.
about that.
Barbara Grindell.
So I just Googled, because what are you going to do? And it goes into the history of the fact of telling us there is a 9-branch menorah, having to do, of course, with Hanukkah. And the gist of it was that there were 8 branches, and the 9th was used to light all the others.
Right.
So if that makes sense, way back in the Masonic. Yes, in the Masonic era, from what I could get.
That's Masonic. That's a totally different time. That's not the Jewish temple. That's not the temple in Jerusalem. I've got to look it up. There's a lot of there's a lot of different.
Well, considering
it's the danger of teaching on Zoom. Everybody could check Google and see when I'm making mistakes.
So I think
my walking tours have totally changed because I have to be careful. Sometimes I'd make up dates if I couldn't remember the date. But now on a walking tour, everybody Googles and says, it wasn't 1843, Rabbi, it was 1845. I've got to be really on my toes with you people. But I'll look that up. I'll get back to everybody about that.
Right. With
All I'm going to say is it does. Okay, I was going to say that the 9 branches.
Barbara, let's hold off on these. That's a whole topic. Let's talk about the
Lisa
song.
Brown has a comment, and then we have one last play.
Right.
Lisa.
So this psalm, there's no requirements for this. This is really God's grace. I mean, this is
exactly. There's
very Judeo-Christian, which I don't usually use that term, but here it is.
I reject Judeo-Christian. That exists in Judaism. It's not Christian to say there's no requirements. Judaism also has an unconditionally loving God, and it's just this example.
God doesn't search in your soul. You don't need to, he's not killing your, or she's not killing your enemies. I mean, it's just a pure gift, pure grace.
Yeah. That's why I keep saying the book of Psalms as a whole expresses everything. And there's just too much to say in one psalm, right? To express all of humanity's longings, all of the relationship with God. And each one is a different part of the prism, and this is a very important one.
I just want to say that I sing with a Christian chorus. It's not a Christian chorus, it's interdenominational. And these are discussions that we have all the time of where the intersections between Judaism and Christianity is. So this psalm really resonates to me. And we also sing a particularly beautiful setting of the benediction to the priestly blessing. Resonates with me. So beautiful. I'm really immersed in this topic of Judeo-Christian, even though I understand your point.
Beautiful.
So, Rabbi,
we're going to end now with what I think is a gorgeous setting, also Christian, and I think it's Polish, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Darina, is Polish one of your languages?
I just put the text in chat.
Okay.
And I will ask
those
of you in the So if those of you in the rabbi's class, what was the Athens of the Pale of Settlement? What was this the home of scholarship? Come on, someone knows this.
Oh, please.
Vilna.
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 Vilna is where this was recorded. This is a recording from a group in Vilna. All right, any last words about the recording before I play it,
Oh,
Rabbi?
it's just another beautiful setting of this.
Gorgeous,
I just
gorgeous.
wanted to pick a few that were.
This is I put some information in. It's a medieval group, Renaissance medieval group. It's from 1558.
The setting, yeah.
Setting, yes. It was.
It's a gorgeous setting. All right, folks. Well, this is our offering for the Omer and for this 24th day of the Omer. We're going to leave the room open for a few minutes, and it's been a great honor and pleasure and joy for me this morning to be studying with all of you.
Thank you.